This is Prince Handley coming to you with 100,000 watts of pure love. I want to talk to you today about the real reason for the war in Iraq. The U.S. troops are leaving Iraq right now, and this is a special release podcast. You probably will want to share it with your friends. It's actually also a synopsis of 12 prophetic items. Email this message to your friends, share with them how they can download the app, and whatever way you can get them this message. It's very important to the present and the future of your friends. And by the way, there are several music beds in this podcast. The podcast is not over just because you hear music. I want to give you a brief description of this podcast. The war in Iraq plays and did play an important part in end-time prophecy. The result will be a paradigm shift in world commerce and religion. Israel will be swept up in a vortex of persecution. A 12-point prophetic synopsis of what will happen is covered in this podcast. Well, the U.S. military troops are on their way home after 7 years of war in Iraq. If you notice the news, you may have seen TV footage of Michelle Obama being asked by a lance corporal during a holiday celebration if he could escort her to the Marine Ball next year. Yes, this is for real. She gave him a hug, and then she asked one of her aides to get the young man's address. I thought it was very courteous and outgoing of the First Lady, and a brilliant response. I heard that later President Obama ordered the troops back to Iraq. No, I'm just kidding. Now, for some bonus material for you, I have included a clip of that video in this episode. It shows the young man requesting of the First Lady if she would escort him, if he would escort her to next year's Marine Ball. Also, in that clip, I've included a preview of next summer's movie titled The Dictator. It kind of looks like Borat revisited. You can see it in the same clip with Michelle Obama on the hit-on. But back to the main subject. Today, I want to give you a 12-point prophecy included with the message on Iraq for some very serious and prophetic information. Now that the troops are coming home, I want to share with you the real reason for the war in Iraq. You can read the show notes in detail in the PDF file for this release. Also, you can find numerous and very important bibliographical references at the end of the PDF show notes of this podcast. By the way, don't forget to tell your friends about the Prince Handley app. It is super important to their present and future. First, I want to weave for you a fabric of pictures, a woven mural spanning from the present to the future. Listen very carefully, then pray and ask the Lord to give you discernment. In the show notes of this podcast, you will find scriptural references that you may read and then decide for yourself. My obligation to you from the Lord is to present what I know. Your obligation from the Lord is to pray and through due diligence decide if what I tell you is true. Your future and the future of your children and grandchildren are at stake. First, let's cover the prophetical importance of the war in Iraq. Right now, Iraq plays a key piece not only in the Middle East, but in the prophetic puzzle and the timeline of the world. Men wage war, but God wages eternal justice. The real reason behind the war in Iraq, unknown to men, is for clearing the way to rebuild Babylon. New Babylon. Babylon in the land of Shinar was the headquarters of the first world autocrat. His name was Nimrod. Scripture in the original Hebrew language, and also supported by rabbis, shows that Nimrod was a mighty hunter against or in opposition to the Lord. Just as Babylon was the headquarters for the first world dictator, so the new Babylon will be the headquarters of the final world dictator, a despot and worse than tyrant. He will be chosen by the New World Order, or whatever name the organization ascribes to itself at that time in the future. He will be the false Mashiach, the false Messiah, and the greatest enemy that Israel and the Jewish people have ever known. Babylon in Iraq lies 85 kilometers or 55 miles south of Baghdad. People, even Bible scholars, confuse the fall of Babylon with the destruction of Babylon. The fall of Babylon happened in 539 BC. The Persian king Cyrus, who captured the Medes in 549 BC, took Babylon in 539 BC, and Darius the Mede was his vassal king. Babylon was taken over with military genius when the Euphrates River was rerouted so that the level of the moat system around the city was lowered, allowing the army of Cyrus to enter the city. Notice the historian Josephus records that 12 days later, Daniel, that's the prophet Daniel, presented Cyrus with a scroll. You can see Isaiah or Ishawahu in the Tanakh, Isaiah chapter 44 verse 28 and Isaiah chapter 45 verses 1 to 13, where it was written 150 years earlier, showing that God named Cyrus as the one who would release the Jews from Babylonian exile to return to Jerusalem, thus ending the 70-year captivity prophesied ahead of time by the prophet Jeremiah. I'll read that prophecy to you. It's from Jeremiah chapter 25, verses 11 through 12 in the Tanakh, or in the Hebrew Old Testament. Here's the prophecy Jeremiah gave. And this whole land shall be a desolation and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. And it shall come to pass, when 70 years are accomplished, that I will punish the king of Babylon, and that nation, says Yahweh, for their iniquity, and the land of the Chaldeans, and I will make it desolate forever. By the way, the Hebrew word chorbah here used for desolation means drought. In other words, desert. Again, you can read that in Jeremiah chapter 25. Babylon was not destroyed. It became the second capital of Persia. Then 200 years later, it was Alexander the Great's capital. Through the years, it has been withered, but not destroyed. Again, let me say, never destroyed, with the kind of destruction that the Bible foretells. Notice Isaiah chapters 13 and 14 and Jeremiah chapters 50 and 51 state that Babylon will be destroyed like Sodom and Gomorrah. This has never happened. This is a future prophecy. Again, a lot of scholars even confuse the fall of Babylon with the destruction of Babylon. The destruction is a yet future prophecy. In context, it shows that Israel is back in the land, redeemed from the nations, with also the Goyim, or the strangers or Gentiles. Babylon withered, but it was never the recipient of destruction as prophesied. Even in the late 19th century, there were people living there. Saddam Hussein, over a period of 20 years, spent $60 million in rebuilding Babylon. Therefore, Babylon must be rebuilt, flourishing again as New Babylon, before it can be destroyed as Sodom and Gomorrah. So let me give you a 12-point prophecy. Number 1, Babylon in Iraq will be rebuilt by the authority of a group of nation-states, probably 10 regions, and then become headquarters for the New World Order. Number 2, Babylon will be the international center of trade, both legal and illegal trade. Number 3, the New Babylon will be the international locus of drugs, pornography, and witchcraft. Number 4, the New Babylon will be the center of the new one-world religion. Number 5, the 10-region governmental mandate that originally grants New Babylon her authority as a world center of trade will also establish Babylon as the head of governmental religion, a one-world religion. Number 6, the authorized one-world religion will have sub-powers under the administration of the false prophet, who will be appointed by the leader of the New World Order, such as the authority to execute Jews and real Christians, and, number 7, to execute by decapitation, or the cutting off of the heads, of those who do not take the identification mark, the name, the number, or the number of the name of the world leader. That is, the leader designated by the Confederacy of Nation-State Regions. Number 8, New Babylon will juxtapose itself or herself with Jerusalem. Number 9, Babylon will eventually be destroyed by the group of nation-states, probably 10 regions which evolve out of the New World Order, which originally gave the authority for New Babylon to be the epicenter of trade and religion. Listen to that again. The same 10 regions that gave New Babylon the authority to be the head of trade and religion worldwide will eventually destroy Babylon. Number 10, this same group of nation-states and others will attack Israel. Number 11, Mashiach, Messiah, will destroy the group of nation-states who attack Israel. Number 12, the Messianic kingdom will be established, and Messiah Yeshua will rule in peace from Jerusalem or Jerusalem. Now, what to watch for? A world leader who is fatally wounded in the head and whose deadly wound is healed. He will be the one the New World Order would choose as their leader. He will be the false Mashiach, the false Messiah. Watch for this also, the rise of Islam and the establishment of a supreme caliphate with the goal of worldwide domination. This could be the eastern arm of the old Roman Empire which ruled from Constantinople, or later named Byzantium and Istanbul. This could also be a fulfillment of a head that was wounded and was healed. Many times the word head is used for a nation, particularly in prophecy and in the book of Revelation. So that old Roman Empire head, the eastern leg of the old Roman Empire that outlasted the western leg for 1,000 years, whose center was in Constantinople, present-day Turkey, that wound would be healed by the rise of the Islamic Caliphate. Study history and you can see how this fits exactly. Next, Turkey will either be selected as a member of the EU or will turn to the Islamic East for affiliation in worldwide commerce and trade. And the United Nations may move their headquarters to New Babylon in the future. And watch for this. China, or a regional power in the East, such as Iran, will surpass Russia and the USA in nuclear proliferation and become part of the military triumvirate of the East. And finally, watch for this. A combination of the EU, the League of Arab States or Nations, and Iran forming a complex of 10 regions of nation-states. Watch and pray, my friend. This has been your friend, Prince Handley, coming to you with 100,000 watts of pure miracle-working love. Baruch haba b'shem Adonai.